ended up adding some more rock to it. There's about 250 pounds of live rock in here at this point. Some of it I've gotten from people that was used as base rock in other reef tanks. So some of it's white, so it's probably not very mature yet, but it will be. And this is kind of what it's looking like right now. We did just have a kind of a big battle with cyanobacteria. And the strange thing was that the cyanobacteria, I don't know whether it was our lighting choice or what the deal was, but the cyanobacteria normally shows up red, which is where it gets its name as red slime algae. However, in this reef tank, it was showing up as brown. It only showed in red in a couple spots. We tried battling it with changes with RO water, you know, stepped up the weekly water changes more. That didn't help. Tried some phosphate media in the tank. You know, that helped just a little bit. It really didn't kick it though. So what we did was we went and we got some chemical, which is called chemiclean. And the cool thing about chemiclean is it is completely safe for your nitrifying bacteria and all your corals, invertebrates, all your fish, as long as you aerate the tank. So I've got one of my power heads, as you can see in the left of the tank here. It looks a little bit hazy. That's a bunch of bubbles in the tank keeping it aerated because I am currently treating it as we speak. Less than 12 hours ago, it's probably only been, well, I would say less than 24 hours ago. It's been probably 22 hours at this point that we put the chemiclean in the system. And as you can see in this video, there's none of that. I wish I'd have taken a video ahead of time to show you folks, but the sand was completely covered in this stuff. I mean, it was stringy, it was hanging off the corals, the polyps on the corals weren't opening it up, there was some of it floating around onto the top of the tank, and, you know, we had really battled with this. So, what the chemiclean did, you know, we put it in yesterday, like I said, about 22 hours ago, and it takes 48 hours to complete the treatment. However, we're almost to the halfway point on the treatment, and it's already kicked the cyano's butt. And there's very little in the tank at all. I can only, you know, I have to really look in the system now to see anything, which is awesome. So far everything's looking good. All my snails are looking good. All my fish are looking good. As you can see there, we got that green hairy mushroom. It's all opened up. It was not. Got an acropora up top. It's kind of hard to see on this camera. As you can see, it looks like it's doing well. There's a Monipora digitata there. My zoos, I haven't seen these zoos open up in almost 2 weeks, and they're open. There's some sympodium polyps on there. They're also open. There's my clown there saying hi. And chromis and another. Hey, there's one of my gobies there. Orange striped prawn goby. The xenia coral here, which is a little frag of it. I received it in the middle of all this mess. It's yet to come back. I'm sure it will. It may be a different issue. It may be getting too much light in the system. I'll move it here when I do my water change tomorrow and see if it does any better. Let's see if we can show you some of the other corals. There's our green bird's nest right there. It's looking good. Looking good. And moving right along here, we've got a couple more sets of polyps there. There's a ring of fire polyp colony to the left. In the back right there, you can see some more. They're a different color. They got a green ring around them with a pink center. Like I said, I wish this camera would show it better. But they're doing much better overnight. There's a couple green mushrooms up front there that you can see. They're real small, just a tiny frag that was thrown in on a deal. Kenya tree, another story of it. It looked like a nub, about the size of one of those shells right there. For about, again, 2 weeks I hadn't seen it open up. It's opened up nice. It still got a little improvement, little recovery to go, but it's doing well. Moving down the tank here, let's see what we've got here. We're into a little bit of bubbles here. Again, being aerated for the chemiclean. There's my plating monopora there. It's doing great. I actually have fragged that once. I didn't want to, but the guy that I've been dealing with, he's treated me really, really well. Real nice guy. He had bad luck with one of his and lost it, and he wanted to give another shot, so I gave him a freebie and broke a piece of that off for him, and so far he says it's doing well. So now we'll move down here. Last but not least, we've got some more zoanthid polyps there, some zoos. They're pink as well. My fiance loves the pink polyps, so I just let her put them in there. They're cool. I don't mind pink. And another Kenya tree that was also, you know, about the size of one of those snails that you see next to it, because it was all closed up and looking like it was going to die. It's doing great. I could not ask for any better at the moment. This treatment works, folks. It really does. There's another overview of the tank. It's coming along really nice. Said it's just under 5 months old at this point. Running 500 watts of metal halides in 15K is what they are. They're Kelvin. And also running 384 watts of power compacts. And they're just, I mean, I was afraid I had too much light going on and that's what was causing it. But come to find out, it looks like it's not. I do believe that the problem came from and stemmed from me using tap water. Okay? I've heard it from everybody. You don't want to use tap water. You don't want to use tap water. So I experimented, you know, thinking, hey, it can't be that bad. Folks, use RODI water. If you can't get RODI water, at least use regular reverse osmosis water. You know, you can even go as far as going to Walmart and buying the water out of those machines if you have to. That's better than tap water. All that stuff that's in it is going to cause you problems like it caused me. It was a complete battle. Made for a lot of work in this tank. I mean, it's not worth it. Just spend the money, get your reverse osmosis system, save yourself a headache. Now the tank's looking good. I'm feeling better about it. Some of you might agree, when your tank looks good, you feel good. Let me show you back here. Just remember, when you do this, folks, as you can see, my protein skimmer is not running. You have to shut it off when you're treating with chemiclean, because it will overreact and you will have a mess. Okay, it'll just either that, and if it doesn't overreact, it'll pull this medication out of your tank and it just will not do anything for you. I've added a little bit of live rock down into my sump down there, as you can see. Got a little bit of RO water backed up here that I've made here. I'll show you under the tank. I don't know if I showed you guys this before. I mounted my ballast for my metal halides on the outside. And let's see, I've made some improvements. This is going to look nasty in here, but some of this is from the treatment. My skimmer's not been running, so there's a little extra gunk in there. I need to clean those sponge pads for starters. And folks, the only reason that the sponge pads are here are to keep micro bubbles out of this stage, which has gotten pretty nasty. And this is also some of this green that you're seeing, like the green. Here's my refugium. You see all that green on the glass? That there is another problem with using tap water. You can't even hardly see my catamorpha in there. There you can see back in there. I mean, I've got probably a ½ pound of Catamorpha in there, and it's really starting to do the job. I think now that I've got it all going, see, there's the return pump section. It got pretty nasty in this treatment too. So what I'm going to have to do in my water change is clean that out, because after 48 hours, and this is extremely important, after 48 hours of using chemiclean, you have to, let me say that again, you absolutely have to do at least a bare minimum of a 20% water change on your system. Now folks, take into account, if you've got a sump and a refugium, take into account for that water. Make sure you try and calculate as close to the water volume for the total system as you can. Try and calculate for the displacement for all your live rock and stuff like that. It makes a difference. This tank here, it's a 125-gallon display. I've got a 55-gallon sump and refugium that only holds roughly 40 gallons of water. Okay, but by the time I've got the displacement, all the live rock, the live sand, etc., etc., I would say that my display only holds 100 gallons. So what I did was I treated the system for like 155 gallons is what I treated it for. And as you can see, just under the 24-hour mark, it's looking good. This tank, it's only just under 5 months old in total. From the very first water going into it through the cycle, it's just now probably right at 5 months. I haven't calculated, so might track down some of my old videos and actually look at the actual date. I'll look at my water change schedule and testing schedule. Nitrates testing 0, ammonia 0, nitrites are testing 0, pH is at 8.4, and my calcium is sitting at 480. I treat with trace elements every 2 weeks because I'm doing nice water changes once a week, just to make sure my corals are getting everything that they need. And the tank, I'm so excited, guys. It's finally, I mean, this has been such a battle for me. I'm excited. It's looking good again. So I'll give another update here probably for too long after the treatment's completely over, and see if you folks can tell a difference. Also, another thing I ran into, this may help some of you folks out there that are new to this like I am. Put as much water flow in a reef tank as possible. If you're setting up a reef tank, you know you're going to keep corals, especially SPS. Make sure you got the water flow, because I'm sitting right at about 3,000 gallons of water flow with my return pump and my power heads I'm running. I've got 4 power heads in here in total, and believe it or not, I'm wanting to almost double the water flow that I've got just to make sure there's absolutely no dead spots in the tank. The fish love the current, the corals love it. If you're going to keep SPS, the more flow the better. Just don't knock them over. Don't be afraid to try things. I guess that's my #1 thing. Don't be afraid to try stuff. I wasn't going to put any SPS corals in here until at least the year mark of the tank being up and running. Like everybody suggests, hey, they tell you, you don't want to put corals in there until, it's a year old. No SPS, LPS, just stay away from that. Do your softies and polyps and stuff like that in the tank. And let me tell you, the best corals in my tank right now that are growing the absolute best are my monoporas and my bird's nest. My polyps during all this, they didn't do that great. But the SPSs, knock on wood, and I'll actually, there we go, I actually knocked on some wood for you folks. It's all doing great. So if anybody else is new to this like I am and you're having problems, don't get discouraged. I know it's a hard thing not to. I got discouraged for a minute, and it took a lot, but once you figure the problem out, you get it taken care of, you see your tank look great again, Your tank looks good, you feel good. Your tank looks like crap, you're stressed, and